Philadelphia has it.
And good morning, everybody. What's happening this morning? Welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media Live, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. You know the drill. Like, retweet, share, follow, do all the great stuff you do to help us continue to grow the show every single morning. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button. If you're watching on other platforms, if you want to get interactive with the show, make sure you head over to the YouTube page. That's where I can put your comments, thoughts, concerns, like these examples right up on the screen. This is not an example. Good morning, Big Ed. How you doing today? We got lots of Phillies to talk about today. I want to continue yesterday's conversation. We started on the morning show. Jason got a little red, little Irish red.
Little heated, little spirited debate.
I was a little concerned that an eyeball blood vessel was going to pop. And then I know you went and did pregame live yesterday, and you continued it on your own on that. And I want to continue this discussion about accepting failure just because another team on paper is better. We are going to get into the positives. The Phillies win. We definitely will. But Dylan, by the way, that's Dylan Davis right there.
Yeah.
I'm Phil Stifle. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. I forget that sometimes I got these sound effects here. I don't use them enough. So, we'll throw that in there. Dylan, I want you to, for those that didn't watch pregame live yesterday, which you should, you should be subscribed to DSM Media. You should have the notifications turned on. So when Dylan goes live for pregame, you know what's happening. I want you to give me a recap of basically your thoughts on why you thought it was not as big of a deal losing 3 out of 4 to the Mets yesterday or this weekend.
So, all right, let me try to phrase this correctly because I'm 50% with you. I'm 50% on the other side of things from you. I'm not excusing the Phillies' performance over the weekend. If you want to blame Rob Thomson, if you want to blame Nola and Wheeler, you want to blame the players, you want to get pissed off that New York fans took over Citizens Bank Park, I'm with all of it. I'm not excusing that they lost 3 or 4 games to a rival again, and the Mets seem to be in their heads. What I'm talking about and what I spoke on the pregame show last night was taking everything in the total landscape and how I'm seeing all this overreaction. I know it's Tuesday now, but all this overreaction yesterday about how the Phillies are no longer a good team. They're not a playoff team, or if they are a playoff team, they're going to get bounced in the first round because they only beat the good teams on their schedule, Phil. And that I can't get behind. That is total and utter BS to me because I don't know how many times I have to spell out how they've done against other playoff teams this year, against good playoff teams this year. I'll lay it out again. Last time I want to do it. They had the season series over the Dodgers. They had the tiebreakers over the Brewers, Cardinals, and Padres. They're 500. They're 6-6 against the big, bad defending World Series champs with the Atlanta Braves, and they play them 7 more times through the rest of the year. And this is all without Bryce Harper and Gene Seager, undermanned all year long. They're no longer a good team. Can't do anything in the playoffs because they struggle against one specific team. I'm not here to excuse how they looked. I'm not here to be like, well, the Mets are better. I hate that. I don't like that, right? But it does not make the Phillies no longer a playoff contender. That's the part that I can't wrap my mind around, and people just want to overreact because it's New York and the Mets beat the Phillies' ass this weekend.
All right, so there's a lot to unpack from what you had to say there. But here's how I'm looking at it. Everything you said is correct. The other teams that we've played well against, the Mets having our number, the Mets being maybe one of the top 2 or 3. The Astros, right. Maybe the Yankees. I mean, the Yankees are playing pretty bad right now. Maybe the Mets are the second best team in baseball at this point.
Right, the Dodgers.
The Dodgers, too. Sorry, that was the other team I was thinking of there. So it's the Mets, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Astros. Astros probably 1, in my opinion. Dodgers 2. And then from there. But why are we not allowed to hold this team accountable? I don't care that the Mets have our number. We have to be able to hold this team accountable. You went up against the Mets team. team that has our number, better team, leaps and bounds. No questions asked. But you went up against a team that didn't have their best two pitchers going in 4 games. You went
Right.
out there flat as can be. No energy, no emotion, no fight. You didn't see anything of that. You had a manager in a big moment make mistakes as a manager, and all people that want to call this out are told us that they're haters. It's the Mets. It's okay.
Now,
Why isn't it okay to be critical of your look? Let's compare it to other teams. The Eagles. You know, everybody that says that they're not Jalen Hurts supporters is because they lost to the Buccaneers badly in the playoffs. But the Buccaneers were obviously, hands down, they were the defending Super Bowl champions. They made a deep run in the playoffs. It's okay to be critical in that situation of a lesser team losing to a better team in a moment in the playoffs, let alone with a bunch of young kids that have never been in the playoffs going up against Tom Brady. But yet this week, it's not okay to criticize a team for coming up small in a huge moment in front of you. Had 40+ thousand fans. Yes, some of them were Mets in that stadium this weekend. And it's wrong to criticize them for all these reasons that are laid out.
I don't think I don't think it's holding them accountable. What I'm arguing is there's a difference from holding this team accountable and being pissed off and criticizing them for their play this past specific weekend and wrapping that up, declaring that they're no longer a good team, declaring that they only beat bad teams, that's why they have a good record, declaring that they won't do anything in the first round of the playoffs, when I can lay out time and time again that the Mets are the only team they've struggled with. I'm not excusing what they did. Rob Thomson came up, and we can have that conversation as well. I agree with you, but there's a lot that goes into it. When you don't have Knebel, when you lose Sir Anthony, when the bullpen shot, that's
but see, I can counter that. You know, you knew you didn't have Sir Anthony. You knew you did not have Knebel. The fan base didn't know it because they hadn't reported that before the game.
Right.
Rob Thomson knew it. So why is he throwing David Robertson out there in the 8th inning, knowing he's got nobody coming in the 9th inning? Why? No, like I'm not trying to say Bilotti is his better option. There was one game this weekend. It was either one of the Saturday games or Sunday when we didn't have anybody, and he threw Alvarado in the 5th inning. I'm not saying Alvarado's a closer.
No, I get you.
Alvarado's a high leverage guy, and you went and you wasted him in the 5th inning.
Right.
So you can say Rob Thomson knew all this ahead of time. He knew he didn't have these guys available. Yet he goes and he throws David Robertson for 2 innings because he didn't have anybody else to go. Well, that's poor job on his part.
It is, but there's also the other side of it. Like obviously Wheeler and Nola came up incredibly small in their first 2 starts.
And why is nobody complaining or calling them out?
I don't know that part. I don't like that part. Yeah,
they
I agree
absolutely need, because just to preface, I don't know if you saw the first 30 seconds of the show yesterday.
Wheeler
I said in the beginning, we need to call out Wheeler, Nola, and Thompson. It's not just Rob Thomson.
Right.
You've got the 2 Cy Young candidate pitchers. It would be like saying you have a guy that's it's like the Philly Eagles fans. Carson Wentz was about to win MVP, and then he tanked and he started to stink. So we called him out. We need to call out Aaron Nola and Zach. I'm not saying they had to go 7 shutout innings against the Mets offense, but going 4 innings and giving up 7 runs, that's 100%. Unacceptable.
100%. And at home. And Wheeler more specifically also, because Nola, not that they cancel out, but Nola dealt a gem against Scherzer the previous weekend in New York. Wheeler struggled in back-to-back series against the Mets, and we need him to step up. But just going back to Rob Thomson real quick, like trust me, I get it. And it's David Robertson called for the ball. Great on his part. Thompson doesn't have to okay it. Coonrod was warmed. Whatever you want to say. But at the same time, it's not Rob Thompson's fault that Kyle Gibson blew a 4-run lead and he had no command through 5 innings. It's not Rob Thompson's fault that he brings in Connor Brogdon, who's been fine this year. He gives up a 3-run blast after the rain delay. Then Rob Thomson presses the correct button, hits Jeet Segura. He ropes one to take the lead in the bottom of the 8th. It looked like the smartest decision of the year. Robertson wants the ball. He gives the veteran the ball. He wanted to help his team out. It bit them in the ass. I get all of that. It's okay to hold them accountable. I'm not saying that. But let me ask you something. You specifically. Absolutely. You're holding them accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still think they're a good team And outside of the Mets, if they don't see the Mets in the first round, healthy, getting Bryce back, getting Sir Anthony back, can they win a playoff series against the Brewers?
Can they? All right, so you got to rephrase your question. Can they make the playoffs? Absolutely. I still think they make the playoffs. But can they win the playoff series? I don't have massive confidence in them winning a playoff
why?
series.
But why? Just because
it's not just the Mets. I mean, they have lost. Who did they get swept by right before the All-Star break? The Cubs? Or the Marlins?
Yeah, the Cubs.
Or right after the All-Star break. Look, the Phillies have shown time in and time again this year. Yes, they're a good team, but they come up small in big moments.
But I just
and
the Dodgers.
They're so inconsistent, Dylan. How can you a team that they have lost 4 or 5 games in a row just as many times as they've won 4 or 5 games in a row this year?
Not since Rob Thomson's taken over, though. That just happened recently.
No. That's wrong. Because I did the math the other day. New day, new set of notes. He went 14-2, 15-2 when he first started. You take that out, they're 30. This is in the middle of the Mets series, so I don't know what the updated numbers. They were something like 32 and 27 after that stretch. That's just barely better than 500 ball.
I mean, so here, my point is, but they're doing
like 85 wins or something like that outside that big spark stretch there.
Since Rob Thomson's become manager, outside of the 2 series against the Mets when they've gotten crushed, they've won every series outside of the Cubs series and the Mets series that I can count back to. And that's the only thing you can ask them to do is to continue to win series. And we're just getting we agree. They're making the playoffs. With this schedule, getting Bryce back, the Brewers a game and a half behind them. Maybe, still a game and a half behind them now. But they're not. I don't think they're going to catch them. My difference in opinion is just because they flop against the Mets. When I think John Stolness tweeted something out the other day, yesterday even. The year, it might have been in 2008 when, Stairs hit a shot into the night and they beat them in that series. I forget what year it was. The Phillies were 1-11 against the Dodgers in the regular season. That's what they did in the postseason. Beat them. I'm not saying it's apples to oranges here, but there's a difference, man. And when I tell you that they've beaten the Padres, they've beaten the Cardinals, they've beaten the Brewers, they've beaten the Dodgers, they have a chance to win the season series over the Braves, just because they lose to the Mets, who might be a top 2 team in baseball, shouldn't mean they can't win a playoff series anymore.
All right. So here we go.